Before we get into public comment, in April, we will have the anti-hate issue on the agenda when all our council members are here. So I just want to let everyone know that. Also, time limit will be limited to 3 minutes, so everyone has an opportunity to speak. Please be civil with your comments, and when you make any comments, you're addressing the council. Thank you. Pat?
Well, based on your announcement that anti-hate will be on the April agenda, I'll modify what I have to say and include some of it. The Airbnb owners are already being asked by potential customers if it is safe to visit Ferndale. It's likely your failure to pass an anti-hate resolution will have adverse economic consequences if people are already asking that question. Why would a city not want to have an anti-hate resolution? What's the downside? I don't see it. An anti-hate resolution will not be a violation of the First Amendment rights. It will clarify that the Ferndale community rejects hateful messaging. As the Humboldt County supervisors declared in their anti-hate resolution, we should not look away from hateful extremism. And thank you for putting it on the agenda in April.
Thank you. Kim McCandless?
Just had a brief statement. I've had the privilege of being raised in Ferndale, leaving for a time, and then returning to make it my home. I have deep roots here and take pride in my hometown. I would like to see its policies best reflect the values of the citizens who reside here and promote the kind of inclusiveness that we desire. To me, the drafting of an anti-hate resolution specifically is incredibly important. It is nothing personally against an opinion that someone may have, but a chance for all lifestyles and values to be honored. If Ferndale is seen as hostile to the rights and practices of LGBTQ individuals or other underrepresented groups, we all suffer, and we see the good name of our town desecrated and its citizens unable to live in harmony. I cannot overstate the importance of seeing this resolution passed. Specifically for me, I've spent the majority of my adult life with very close ties to the LGBTQ community, and I would like to think Ferndale would seriously consider not supporting them to the maximum extent by law. I would hate to think that. And this, again, holds true for any marginalized group. And, thank you for listening, and take care.
Thank you. Paul Beatty?
Thank you. My name is Paul Beatty. I live on Miriam Street here in Ferndale. And we've got a new mic here tonight that hopefully won't be feeding back like it was the last one. So I want to thank you guys for your volunteer service and let you know that I'm representing myself tonight, not the chamber. I feel like one of the luckiest guys I know to be able to call Ferndale my home, to live in California, in the United States. And we're all here tonight, everybody, because we do love Ferndale. And we love where we live, we love our community, we love our neighbors. The anti-hate resolution, I can't say I'm happy that you guys are going to consider it on your agenda. Relieved, I don't know the right word. It's part of this national discussion, state discussion, county discussion, local discussion that we have to have. And so, I don't know the word, but we're having it. Thank you for that. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts as our representatives of our community. And I just want to remind everybody that it's okay to disagree. You know, we can have different ideas and we can come together and we compromise. Ferndale for different reasons. We can care about our community in different ways, and I think that's really important. What's not okay for me is when people feel unwelcome, or they feel unsafe, or they feel ashamed for who they are. And I think that's what this is about. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul. James? James Graham?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thanks for letting me speak. Warning parents and community members about drag queen shows with sexualized content for children is not hate, it's love. We have a First Amendment in this country, and the Supreme Court has already ruled on what hate speech is. As long as it doesn't threaten somebody's life, it's not hate speech. What is hate speech, though, is for the so-called pride community and its supporters to call us bigots for trying to protect children. Nobody hates the LGBT community. We just want them to leave children out of their sexualized drag queen shows. It's not family friendly now and never will be. Devil horns and dildos are not something that children need to see while a grown man pretends to be a woman and twerk in front of them. Why is it Satanism and drag queen shows go hand in hand? Even the so-called pride community event at the Jefferson Center, they were showing portraits of Satan and openly worshiping Satan and mocking God. They are trying to play the victim card while they not only indoctrinate children, but they're recruiting children. There's only one reason they fight so hard to involve children in their sexualized drag queen shows. Anybody with any common sense knows that reason. It's to groom them. It's not illegal to protect children and warn of danger, but that's exactly what the so-called pride community wants you to do. It wants you to silence citizens that are trying to warn the rest of the community. Some people think it's innocent. They really don't know what they're talking about. They've either never been to one of the shows or they like what's going on there at these shows. Either way, for you to try to pass an ordinance against the pastor and his sign that warns people is illegal. Like I said, we already have a First Amendment that spells that out clearly. Maybe watch some footage of what goes on at these drag queen shows, including the one that went on in Ferndale, where they had devil horns and dildos. You think that's appropriate? I don't. They're passing laws in other states to ban drag queen shows for children, as they should. It's called common sense and morality. I hope you have that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Christina?
Christina Chapman, I live on Eugene. Good evening, Mayor Katie and City Council. I know there's a push for a hate has no home here type of diversity resolution. I have one question for you all to consider. Can you define what the word hate will encompass? I know it's challenging. This type of resolution will do exactly the opposite as you want it to intend. By including only some actions and not others, you will be discriminating against someone. There is no resolution that would be truly non-hating unless it says everyone has the right to free speech, religion, press, assembly, and anything that prohibits its free exercise. Oh, wait a minute. That's right, it already exists. It's called the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. So the only true action that needs to be taken on this topic is nothing. James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and John Jay already did the work for you. I call on you, the City Council, to be done with this once and for all by just referring to our nation's Constitution as your official resolution. By not stepping into this can of worms, you can do your duties as City Council, which includes important work such as the city's infrastructure, finances, emergency response planning, and items that truly affect our city's future. Thank you for your time.
Reverend Bradlaugh?
Mayor, members of the council, thank you again for your time and your attention, and your willingness to serve our city in your vocation of government and being civil servants. Thank you for that very much. I want to echo what Mr. Beatty said. I agree. I think it really is a shame that there's such division here. And I want to kind of offer my sympathies to you guys for being in your offices in this very hard time to be involved in government. And so you have my sympathies and my prayers. The congregation prays for all of our leaders by name on a weekly basis, and I in a daily basis. So this is a hard comment for me to make this time around, but once again, I implore you to resist the pressure to do anything on the topic of anti-hate this month and next, even maybe reconsider. My request isn't for myself. It isn't for Christ's people at St. Mark. My appeal to you for this evening is actually for those people who hate me. I know full well how many of our neighbors see me. Truth be told, this entire conversation, both in 2021 and now this time around, on this anti-hate resolution, it's nothing more than a court of public opinion, and I'm the one on trial. That's the reality. We can't escape that. A good argument could be made that I'm one of, if not the most hated person in town. I have been for a little while. Just yesterday, I read words a resident drag queen wrote about me in the Lord's Church. I'm going to redact them for decency's sake, but you can read this after I leave it with the city clerk. But I quote, "If all he's done is be the author of incendiary messages on the sign outside his blank little church, he's still a mother effing a-hole in my mind, especially since through his sermons, he has convinced his moronic congregation to drink his own brand of Kool-Aid." Hate has a home here. People have hate in their minds, admitted right there. So the idea that we can make a resolution, a government resolution that says anything to the contrary would be a lie. I don't want you guys to be liars. This isn't the realm of government. That's why this is a hard topic. But even if you did step out and say something like this, that means we have to answer the question, what's going to happen to everyone who hates me? If we make any sort of resolution with any sort of connection to hate having no home here, whatever catchphrase we want to use, does that mean we expect all those who hate me to move? I don't plan on moving. I love Ferndale. Came back here. Back once, came back. My wife and I just bought Christina's bookstore. We're going to use that to spread truth, goodness, and beauty throughout the county, to share the great conversation of the Western world with all of our neighbors and help enrich the children of this community and all of us. People want me to move. I've been harassed. I am the subject of the hatred, and I don't want any of them to have to leave. I love them as much as Christ does. And I would ask that you not do anything on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Snyder?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Ian Snyder. I grew up in Ferndale. I've lived and worked in this village most of my life. I'm a Christian and I attend weekly Bible study at St. Mark Lutheran. I want to speak to the anti-hate resolution that we proposed to table tonight. I know there's no text to review yet, but I can see three ways it's going to go. First, you can write it in such a way that it directly condemns St. Mark Lutheran Church and their son. The development of this hasn't happened in a vacuum, and it's been a direct response to the church. While I considered that one to be the bad option, I actually consider the second one to be worse, which is to have a draft resolution that becomes so weak and has such limp verbiage in it that anyone can consent to it and paint your own meaning into it and think, well, everyone's going to agree to this, we'll pass unanimously and life move on. If you intend to condemn the church, then let's be clear about it. Third option, which others have spoke to, is to drop the whole thing. This is what I encourage you to do, and this is why. Problem is that the real issue at hand is much, much deeper. No resolution is going to be able to address it. It's a fundamental difference in the worldview where terms love and hate mean different things to people. God is the one who defines what love is. And Jesus summarizes this in the moral law. He summarizes God's moral law in 2 commandments. The second, which is to love your neighbor as yourself. Love biblically defines an earnest desire for the good of others. And those who love their neighbors desire their good and not their harm. And I will contend that's what St. Mark's does. Just as God defines what love is, He defines what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is evil. This is why we cannot celebrate or even just accept what God calls sinful. This is why we plead with our neighbors to repent of sin and trust in Christ, for this would be for their good. We don't do this with pride or condemnation, but with the understanding that we too are sinners, saved by the grace of God. This obviously leads to a clash in the culture and celebrates things that God calls abomination and wickedness. Our life is characterized as hate speech. That you are a sinner in need of a Savior is a difficult message to hear, but it would be truly unloving of us, for those who know the truth from God's words and not warn those who live in error and celebrate sin. Our warnings might be received as hateful, but by God's definition of love, we at St. Mark's love our neighbors. No matter what resolution you pass, we will not shake our resolve to love our neighbors in this community. As I stated before, the fundamental problem can't be solved by resolution anyway. I encourage you to drop the matter of time.
Thank you. Pete?
My name is Pete Banson. I'm a relatively new comer to Ferndale proper, but I have been around the community for a while. I think maybe this thing is being framed a little wrong. I think maybe, I'm here about the hate speech resolution, but I think maybe an acceptance resolution would be more appropriate. I think you've been elected by the citizens to represent the majority of the citizens, and in my opinion, a definite majority of the citizens do not support condemning or casting negative aspersions on anyone. And I think you have an opportunity to flip this over on its head, to pass an inclusion resolution. Doesn't mention hate, that's a negative term. I always thought that billboard was maybe not quite the right way to say it. And I think the majority of the citizens would appreciate that. Everybody can still keep their opinions, everybody can keep whatever random billboards or signs they want, but we can all maybe be proud of our city for indicating that anyone's welcome here and all opinions are valued. So thanks.
Mayor, I have one more, just a minute left when we started, so.
Hello, thanks for my opportunity to speak here. My name is Ash Teeter with LostCoastPopulist.com. I come down here to participate in this town hall meeting due to an ongoing discussion occurring in our country. A discussion that, in my opinion, has suffered greatly due to presumptions and misinterpretations. As many of you know, the most recent iteration of this discussion started at the Halloween all-age drag show, the Jefferson Center in Eureka, put on by Redwood Pride. This is where the presumption that people who either showed up to document or protest the event did so out of hate. This is a misconception based on an opinion, not a fact. A misconception widely shared by local media, the Eureka City Council, the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors, the Humboldt Human Rights Commission, and possibly next month by your council as well. Along with this misconception of hate being the motivation for people's actions, There's also been a denial or selective recording of sexualized dancing and cash tipping at the all-age drag performance. A misconception that was recently addressed and admitted to be a result of hasty planning in an interview with the head of Lost Coast Pride, Kayla Rivera, on the Growing Pains podcast with Nicholas Flores. A great interview. I recommend watching it on YouTube. And up here, I will play a clip from that interview for you here.
With the regular pride drag shows, there was gyrating, there was the tipping, there were these standards that
Okay,
you might not contribute to your own, but
Right.
they were present in this one. So you're kind of in that boat.
Right, I believe because that drag show was kind of like after the pandemic and everything else, it was the first drag show, and I don't think that it was necessarily thought through because, you know, typically when we do a drag show, there's tipping and whatnot, and I don't think that that was thought through as far as for a kid's show. That show was, it wasn't very long. It was kind of not laughing and throwing together. Everybody knew what they were going to do.
Pretty quickly.
Right, pretty quickly put together, right? So, I don't think that those rules and standards have been thought about.
But yeah, so I guess it depends on how well a drag show is planned out. So are we gonna leave it up to that for like future drag shows and calling them for people having opinions on them? Also within this interview, there were presumptions about the fledgling news group I work with, claiming that we are not real journalism because our opinions differ from news groups who have been bigger platforms and are more established and saturated in a set of opinions within our community. Also admitted was the fact that beyond examining each other's comments on social media, there's been no actual discussion between our separate groups bearing the same acronym, LCP, Lost Coast Populace and Lost Coast Pride. We never really talked to each other. We were just, so people should have their discussion before you guys make any decisions here. Additionally, the Growing Pains interview revealed that a forthcoming all-ages drag show at CR, though open to the general public, will not permit protesting or filming, caveats that seem to be in direct violation of the First Amendment. Everyone here comes from a different background, possessing a unique perspective, presuming to know what anyone thinks by lumping them into a group and cherry-picking the worst statements and calling it a day will never lead to productive, honest discussion. Thank you.
I want to thank everyone for their comments. We listen to